Right now, as you are watching this, a moving truck is pulling out of a driveway somewhere in California. There is a family inside a minivan behind it, 2 kids in the back seat, a dog. Everything they own is in that truck. And somewhere in a glass tower in Manhattan, a portfolio manager is refreshing a screen, watching that family's house appear on a bulk purchase list. He is smiling, because that house just became 20% cheaper. That family thinks they are escaping. He thinks they are delivering the package. This is ReportSTATE. My name is ReportSTATE, and today we are going to rip the lid off the biggest wealth transfer in American state history. 800,000 people have left California in the last 3 years. You have heard that number. Every channel, every news anchor, every podcast host has said it. California exodus. People are leaving. But here is the question nobody is asking, and I mean nobody. If 800,000 people left their homes, who moved in? Who is living in those houses now? Are they empty? Are they demolished? No, someone bought them. Someone is profiting from every single family that packs a U-Haul and drives east on Interstate 10 with tears in their eyes. And today, I am going to show you exactly who that someone is, how they did it, and why your escape from California might be the best thing that ever happened to them. Let me give you the number that started this whole investigation. In 2023, California's population dropped by over 340,000 in a single year. That is not a neighborhood. That is not a small town. That is a mid-sized city evaporating in 12 months. By the end of 2025, the cumulative loss crossed 800,000. The Census Bureau published these numbers quietly. No press conference, no emergency briefing, just a spreadsheet update on a Tuesday afternoon. But ReportSTATE does not sleep on spreadsheets. I pulled that data and I started mapping it. Where did these people go? The top 5 destinations: Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Idaho, and Tennessee. In that order. Texas alone absorbed over 200,000 former Californians. Arizona took about 130,000. Nevada, right next door, picked up nearly 100,000. These are not random migrations. These are patterns, and patterns have architects. Before we follow the money, I want you to meet someone. Kevin Mitchell, age 42. His wife Laura, age 39. 2 kids, ages 8 and 11. Kevin worked as a logistics coordinator for a shipping company in Long Beach. Laura was a part-time dental hygienist in Torrance. Combined household income, $114,000 a year. In most of America, that is a comfortable life. In California, that is survival mode. The Mitchells rented a 3-bedroom apartment in Hawthorne for $3,200 a month. That is $38,400 a year just on rent. Add in California state income tax. Add in gas prices that never dropped below $5 a gallon. Add in grocery bills that climbed every single quarter. Kevin told me, and I am quoting him directly. We did the math every Sunday night at the kitchen table. Every single Sunday. And every single Sunday, we were negative. Not breaking even. Negative. We were going backwards. They tried to buy a house. The median home price in Los Angeles County in 2025 was $940,000. Kevin and Laura qualified for a loan of about $430,000. That is less than half. They could not even bid on a starter home. They were outbid 17 times. 17. And each time, the winning bid was not from another family. It was from an entity, an LLC, a trust, a corporate name with no face behind it. That is when Laura said, "We are not losing to other families. We are losing to machines." The Mitchells are not unique. They are the template. ReportSTATE reviewed county assessor records in Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego, and Sacramento. Here is what the data shows, and I want you to sit with this for a moment. In Los Angeles County alone, between January 2024 and December 2025, corporate and institutional buyers accounted for 31% of all single-family home purchases. 31%. In some zip codes in South LA and the Inland Empire, that number was over 40%. These are not small landlords. These are not mom-and-pop investors buying a duplex to rent out. These are entities with names like Invitation Homes, American Homes for Rent, Tricon Residential, and a web of subsidiary LLCs that trace back to BlackRock, Vanguard, and private equity firms managing hundreds of billions of dollars. They do not buy houses to live in them. They buy houses to rent them back to the people who could not afford to buy them. Read that again. They buy the house you could not afford. Then they rent it back to you for more than your mortgage would have been. Let me show you how this machine works, because it is elegant in the worst possible way. Step 1. A family like the Mitchells cannot afford to buy. They keep renting, paying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month to a landlord. Step 2. Eventually the rent increases push them out of the state entirely. They leave. Step 3. The house or apartment they vacated is either already owned by a corporate landlord or it gets purchased by one within days of listing. I am not exaggerating. Days. ReportSTATE tracked 150 home sales in Riverside County in Q3 2025. The average time from listing to accepted offer for corporate buyers was 4.2 days. For individual families, it was 47 days. The corporations are not competing in the same race. They are running on a different track with a jet engine strapped to their backs. Step 4. The corporation renovates the property just enough to justify a rent increase, lists it at a higher price, and a new renter moves in. Someone who will also eventually be priced out, and the cycle repeats. Now let us talk about the city that broke the math. San Francisco. I have a specific number I want you to hear. In 2025, the Department of Housing and Urban Development set the area median income for San Francisco County at $149,600 for a family of 4. Let that sink in. $150,000 is the median, and HUD classified a family of 4 earning up to $104,000 as low income. Low income. If you make $100,000 a year in San Francisco, you officially qualify for affordable housing assistance programs. You are officially, by federal government standards, struggling. This is a city where a one-bedroom apartment averages $3,100 a month, where a single parking spot in a downtown garage can rent for $500 a month, where a sandwich at a deli costs $19. I walked through the Tenderloin district during my research, and within 4 blocks I counted 11 storefronts that were permanently closed, 6 tents on the sidewalk, and a line of 40 people waiting outside a food distribution center. This is the 5th largest city economy in the United States. This is the headquarters of companies worth trillions of dollars, and people are standing in line for free canned goods 4 blocks from their offices. Here is where the story gets darker. You would think that with 800,000 people leaving, the housing market would cool off. Supply goes up, demand goes down, prices drop. That is Economics 101. But California did not follow the textbook. Median home prices in California dropped briefly in 2023, fell another few percent in early 2024, and then started climbing again by mid-2024. Why? Because the homes were not sitting empty waiting for buyers. They were being absorbed by institutional investors at the dip. Every price drop was a buying opportunity for corporations with billions in cash reserves. Every family that left in panic sold at a discount, and every discounted sale was a gift to a hedge fund. ReportSTATE obtained internal marketing materials from a real estate investment fund based in Connecticut. I am not going to name them yet because our legal team is still reviewing the documents. But I will tell you what the pitch deck said. It said, and I quote, "California residential distress represents a generational acquisition opportunity. Outmigration creates predictable inventory cycles. Target, 15,000 units in Southern California by 2027. Generational acquisition opportunity. That is how they describe families being forced out of their homes. That is the language. That is the tone. You are not a person to them. You are a predictable inventory cycle. ReportSTATE does not just sit in an office and read PDFs. We go to the places other channels are afraid to show you. So let me take you to Bakersfield, Kern County, 2 hours north of Los Angeles. Bakersfield used to be the place Californians moved to when they could not afford LA. It was the pressure valve, the escape hatch, cheap housing, decent jobs in agriculture and oil, and enough distance from the coast to feel like a different world. In 2020, the median home price in Bakersfield was about $260,000. Affordable by California standards. Working families could buy a 3-bedroom house and have money left over for groceries. Then the wave hit. Between 2020 and 2025, over 50,000 people relocated to the Bakersfield metro area from Los Angeles and the Bay Area. They brought their remote work salaries with them. A tech worker making $150,000 in San Jose and moving to Bakersfield could suddenly afford a mansion. But a teacher in Bakersfield making $52,000 could suddenly afford nothing. The median home price in Bakersfield jumped to over $390,000 by late 2025. A 50% increase in 5 years. Rents followed. A 2-bedroom apartment that cost $1,100 a month in 2020 now costs over $1,700. The locals did not get 50% raises. They got priced out of their own city by the same people who got priced out of Los Angeles. The displacement just moved inland. It did not disappear. I talked to a woman named Maria Esperanza, 56, who worked as a school cafeteria manager in Bakersfield for 22 years. Her landlord sold the house she was renting to an investor from the Bay Area. The new owner raised the rent from $1,250 to $1,900 on the first lease renewal. Maria could not afford it. She moved to a smaller apartment on the east side of town. Then that building was bought by a property management company. Rent went up again. She is now living with her sister's family in a 2-bedroom apartment. 4 adults, 3 children, 2 bedrooms. She told me, "I did not leave California. California left me. I am still here, but my city does not recognize me anymore." Maria is not a statistic in a Census Bureau spreadsheet. She is a person who made cafeteria lunches for other people's children for 2 decades and now cannot afford a 1-bedroom apartment in the city where she did it. Now, you might be thinking, fine, California is expensive, corporations are buying everything, but at least the people who leave are starting fresh somewhere better, right? That is the narrative. That is the story the relocation industry sells you. Pack up, move to Texas, buy a big house, pay no state income tax, live the dream. ReportSTATE spent 3 months investigating that narrative, and I am going to be honest with you. It is one of the most sophisticated traps in modern American economics. Let us start with Texas, because that is where most Californians are going. Texas has no state income tax. That is true. That is the hook. That is the billboard on the highway. But here is what the billboard does not say. Texas has some of the highest property tax rates in the entire country. The average effective property tax rate in Texas is approximately 1.6%. In some counties, it is over 2%. In California, thanks to Proposition 13, property taxes are capped at roughly 1% of assessed value at the time of purchase. So a Californian buys a house in Texas for $350,000, thinks they are saving money, and then gets their first property tax bill. $5,600 to $7,000 a year, every year. And unlike California, Texas reassesses property values regularly. So as your home value goes up, so does your tax bill. I talked to former Californians in the Dallas-Fort Worth area who saw their property tax bills increase by 25% in a single year. One family, the Nguyen's, Derek and Amy, moved from Irvine to Frisco, Texas, in 2023. They bought a 4-bedroom house for $380,000. They were thrilled. No state income tax, big house, friendly neighbors. Their first-year property tax bill was $6,840. Their second year, after reassessment, it was $8,200. By 2025, it was $9,100. Derek told me, "We left California to escape high costs. Now we are paying Texas a different kind of ransom. The money just comes out of a different pocket. And do not even get me started on homeowners insurance in Texas. The average annual homeowners insurance premium in Texas is now over $4,300, one of the highest in the nation. Hailstorms, tornadoes, flooding, foundation issues from the clay soil. Insurance companies are not stupid. They know what Texas weather does to houses. You pay for every single risk. Arizona. Let us talk about Arizona, the second most popular destination for fleeing Californians. Phoenix, Scottsdale, Mesa, Chandler, Gilbert. Beautiful desert suburbs with new construction and HOA-maintained sidewalks. The population of Maricopa County grew by over 200,000 between 2020 and 2025. Home prices in Phoenix jumped 45% in that same period. But here is the thing about Arizona that the relocation videos never mention. Water. Arizona is running out of water. In 2023, the state confirmed that groundwater supplies in the Phoenix metro area cannot sustain projected development for the next 100 years. They effectively froze new construction permits in areas dependent on groundwater. Think about what that means for your home value. You buy a house in a suburb that cannot prove it has a century of water supply, and now the state says no new homes can be built next door. Your neighborhood is frozen in time. No growth means no appreciation. And if the water situation gets worse, not if, when, because the Colorado River is at historic lows, your property does not just stagnate. It becomes a liability. Who buys a house in a desert with no guaranteed water? State pooled water authority data for the West Valley of Phoenix. Some developments are already trucking in water, physically loading water into trucks and driving it to neighborhoods because the groundwater wells are insufficient. You are not buying a home, you are buying a very expensive tent in the desert and hoping someone keeps driving the water truck. Let me bring you back to California for a moment because we need to talk about Sacramento, the state government, the people who are supposed to be solving this problem. What are they doing? State reviewed legislative proposals from the 2024 and 2025 sessions. There were 14 bills related to corporate ownership of single-family homes. 14. Not a single one passed with enforceable teeth. The closest was AB 1532, which proposed a 2% surcharge on corporate purchases of residential property. It was watered down in committee, amended to exclude purchases under 50 units, and eventually shelved. 50 units. They exempted anyone buying fewer than 50 homes at once. That means a corporation can buy 49 houses in your neighborhood and pay zero surcharge. This is not incompetence. This is architecture. ReportSTATE cross-referenced campaign donation records with votes on AB 1532. 7 of the 9 committee members who voted to weaken the bill received combined donations exceeding $340,000 from real estate investment PACs in the 2024 election cycle. I will let you draw your own conclusions, but I will say this: when the people writing the rules are funded by the people breaking the game, the rules will never fix the game. And now we arrive at the part of this investigation that made my blood run cold. The exit tax. You have probably heard rumors about this. California is going to tax you for leaving. It sounds insane. It sounds like something from a dystopian novel, but it is not a rumor. It is a documented legislative concept that has been introduced in various forms multiple times. The most aggressive version was a wealth tax proposal that included a provision for taxing unrealized capital gains of residents who leave the state. In simple English, if you live in California and your assets, your house, your stocks, your retirement account increased in value while you lived there, California wants a cut of that increase when you leave. Even if you have not sold anything, even if the gain is only on paper. You did not cash out. You did not profit. But the state wants to tax you anyway, for leaving. The current version has not passed. Let me be clear about that. It has not become law, but it has been introduced, discussed, and refined over multiple legislative sessions. Each version gets a little more polished, a little more palatable, and each version gets a little closer to a vote. ReportSTATE spoke with a tax attorney in Sacramento named Daniel Whitmore, who has been tracking these proposals since 2019. He told me, "The exit tax is not a question of if, it is a question of when and how much. Every major state with a fiscal deficit eventually looks at its departing residents as a revenue source. California is no different. They just have bigger numbers and more lawyers. Think about what this means for the Mitchells, for Maria Esperanza, for Derek and Amy Nguyen. You cannot afford to stay. You cannot afford to leave without paying a penalty. And wherever you go, the same corporate machine that priced you out of California is already there, buying up the inventory, driving up the rents, and preparing to do to Texas and Arizona exactly what they did to Los Angeles. This is not an exodus. An exodus implies you are going somewhere better. This is a controlled demolition with a conveyor belt. You are moved from one extraction zone to another. Your labor, your rent checks, your tax payments, your desperate home purchases at inflated prices, all of it flows upward, to the funds, to the trusts, to the glass towers. Let me give you one more number before I deliver the verdict. Invitation Homes, one of the largest single-family rental companies in America, reported net income of over $480 million in their most recent fiscal year. Their portfolio includes approximately 84,000 homes across 16 markets. Their average rent increase per renewal in 2025 was 5.8%. Their occupancy rate was 97%. That means almost nobody leaves their rentals, because there is nowhere else to go. You pay the increase, you absorb the hit, and the quarterly earnings report gets a little fatter. State calculated what 5.8% annual rent increases mean over a decade for a family paying $2,500 a month. In year 1, you pay $30,000 in rent. By year 10, you are paying over $49,000. Total rent paid over that decade, approximately $395,000. You do not own anything. You have no equity. You have no asset. You paid nearly $400,000 to live in a house owned by a corporation that bought it at a discount from a family that could no longer afford to stay. So here is the verdict. And if you have been watching ReportSTATE for any length of time, you know I do not sugarcoat anything. California is not collapsing. That is what other channels will tell you. California is collapsing. It is dying. It is over. No, California is being restructured. It is being converted from a state where middle-class families could own property and build generational wealth into a state where corporations own the property and families rent it back at increasing premiums. The exodus is not a bug, it is a feature. Every family that leaves sells at a discount or abandons a rental unit. That unit is absorbed by institutional capital. The price floor is maintained because the supply is controlled. And the new residents, whether they are renters from out of state or remote workers with coastal salaries, pay more than the previous occupants. This is not a death spiral, this is a business model, and it is working exactly as designed. The people behind it are not failing, they are succeeding. Their returns are excellent, their shareholders are happy, their lobbyists are effective, and the Mitchells are living in a rental in Boise, wondering what happened to the American dream they were promised. Let me tell you something personal. I have been doing this work for a while now. I have looked at data from dozens of states. I have driven through neighborhoods that looked like they were abandoned overnight. I have talked to families who did everything right and still lost. And I keep coming back to the same conclusion. This is not random. This is not organic market forces. This is not supply and demand finding equilibrium. This is a system that extracts wealth from the bottom and the middle and concentrates it at the top. And it uses geography as the mechanism. Your zip code is not your identity, it is your price tag. California is the most expensive price tag in the country. But do not kid yourself. Texas has a price tag too. Arizona has one. Idaho has one. Tennessee has one. The numbers are different, the mechanism is the same. If you just sat through this entire investigation, you already know more than 90% of the people packing a moving truck right now. You know who is buying. You know how the money flows. You know why the bills do not pass and why the tax proposals keep coming back. You know that moving to Texas does not free you. It relocates you to a different extraction point. ReportSTATE is not here to tell you what to do. I am here to show you the wiring behind the wall. What you do with that information is your business. But do not say nobody told you, because I just did. This is ReportSTATE. Next week, we cross the border into Texas. And I promise you, what we found in Dallas, in Houston, in Austin, it makes this look like a warm-up. The property tax bomb is ticking, and nobody in Austin is reaching for the wire cutters. Subscribe, hit the bell, because you are going to want to see that one before you sign a mortgage. This is ReportSTATE, and we are just getting started.